I'd like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, July 24th, 2017 at 7 p.m. I would like to have you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call to establish a quorum, please, Amy.
Supervisor Tony Hayne.
Here.
Supervisor Chuck Tice.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite. Here. Supervisor John Stabenus.
Here.
All right, good to go. All right, first thing we'll do here is meet and greet. So Amy, if you'd start off, and then we'll go into the audience. If you'd please introduce yourself.
Amy Flatt, Clerk Treasurer, County Road P.
Tony Hayne, Town Supervisor, Matthew Road.
Chuck Tice, Supervisor from Bay Shore Drive.
Dan Wolfel, Town Chairman, Park Road.
Linda Wade, Town Supervisor, County Board Supervisor for District 14, living on Bluff Court.
John Stabenus, Town Supervisor. I live on Whitefish Bay Road. Richard.
Richard, how about starting?
4108 South Country View Road.
Karen Denver, Sturgeon Bay.
Andy Geiger, Sturgeon Bay.
John?
Neil Auto, 4451 Whitefish Bay Road. Joel Kitchens, State Assembly, Sturgeon Bay.
Mary Ellen Lee, Hampton Road. Sharon Keno, East Down Road.
Rory Keno, East Down Road.
Karen Brower, Gordon Road.
Jim on Lori Lane.
Beth Miles on County P, sorry.
Bob Mills on County P.
Kathy Johnson, County P. Kathy Marshall, 4648, Highway 42.
And last but not least.
Laddie Chapman, Glidden Drive.
Okay, thank you and welcome. The next item on our agenda is public participation. This is an opportunity for you to address the board on anything that runs through your mind at the moment. Not everything yet. If you're here for a specific issue, all right, I know that some of you, I think, are here for the conditional use permit. I will allow you to speak during that portion of the meeting. So if you have something else you'd like to address, other than that, you're welcome to do so. So whoever would like to do so, raise your hand or please start out. John?
July 4th. Maybe as a board, you guys could figure out why a friend of mine passed away in Clerks Lake. Bear with me. No first responders from the town of Sevastopol showed up. No first responders from Jacksonport showed up. 28 minutes for EMTs from Sturgeon Bay to Clerks Lake. Just a thought. Maybe you guys could get an answer for me and why it took 28 minutes from Michigan Street to the north end of Clerks Lake. Because on a bad day from my shop to the middle of Teller Drive Bridge is 45 minutes. Just to put it in perspective.
John, you want to, not necessarily have to address that now, but at some point in time, maybe unless you know.
I do not.
And then the next question and answer I have is the LED lighted signs. Is there still an ordinance against them?
I have no idea that. You'd have to consult with county zoning. I don't think there is a restriction on LED signs. City had some.
Well, of course, size and location
Yeah, 20,
is governed by
24 square feet. But the LEDs have been an issue. LEDs have been an issue for a while. I addressed numerous of the board members about LED signs. There was no ordinance against them. I was told I could not have one. I'm just wondering why there's 3 businesses in the township that do have them.
Check with Door County Zoning Department.
Jeff,
Zoning
good.
Planning.
And then the other thing is, if there is an ordinance problem with those LED signs, this is me not being a so-called rat or very quiet person ratting out people, because a rat trap works really well when you put enough bait on it. I think you know that personally, Dan. So, the questions that you and I had in my shop parking lot, there was only one person I said that to. So if you're gonna call a state inspector on me, by all means, please do. Because if there's any ordinance against LED signs, I would expect by tomorrow morning that you have Pat Nelson shut down, his light turned off, Culver's, and Grandma Tommy's.
Can't address that.
I know
It's
you
part
can't.
of county zoning, so you have to
Well, when you
address
guys
it.
sit and talk about your Phragmites and everything, think about my friend that died in Clark's Lake. And then you think about the little things in life. And what costs us money as taxpayers.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Well, all right, yeah. John? That's not a bad idea. Sorry, that's all right. We can circle back to him. I'm sorry, Karen?
Karen Brower, I'm a new member of the Sevastopol School Board, and I just came to invite everybody to our annual district meeting. That's going to be on Tuesday, August 22nd. There'll be a school tour at 6 o'clock, and then the meeting to follow will be in the multipurpose room. And in case you have not heard, we do have a new superintendent at school, Kyle Lukey, and his first day was on July 5th. He and his wife Dixie moved here recently with their 4 children who are all enrolled for school this fall in Sevastopol, and they recently purchased a home in the district and are in the process of getting settled in. So if you haven't had the opportunity to meet Mr. Lukey yet, you can do so at the annual meeting. And our next regular school board meeting is Thursday, August 17th. I'm going to be popping in and out of the Sevastopol town meetings once in a while as a representative of the school board. I won't be at every meeting, but I'll try to be fairly regular. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wanting to speak on something that's not on the agenda? Yes?
Yeah, Joel Kitchens, I'm your state representative, so I just, it's a little slow right now, so I'm trying to get around and visit the different areas and kind of just get familiar with what issues you're dealing with and all. Just quick report on the state level, we are hopefully going to get the budget done pretty quickly. It looked like today we might have a compromise worked out, but that kind of fell apart, but hopefully that will happen pretty quickly. It all revolves around transportation, getting settled, working something out on that. As far as transportation goes, though, I think we are committed to the local governments having more money towards transportation. The argument really comes down to the big mega projects, in southeast Wisconsin in particular. I guess I can't think of anything else that would directly affect you right now. I think this budget's going to be pretty friendly for you. The economy's so much better this time than it was 2 years ago. That it's an easier budget to live with, I guess. So if you guys had any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. But otherwise, I just wanted to see what's going on, I guess.
Well, I appreciate your coming. I do have one question for you, and I'm wondering what the governor's going to do with respect to tax year-over-year increase. Not taxes, but in terms of what's going to happen with our budgets. And as you know, the last few years, it's been either the increase has been limited to the amount of new build construction or, lost my train of thought, new build construction or a fixed percentage. Are you familiar with anything that might be happening with that this year?
I don't think that there's going to be a lot of relief for you that way. I was on the Sturgeon Bay School Board for many years, so we dealt with the sort of the revenue caps, sort of the same situation. I know it's a little newer for you guys to deal with. I know local governments don't like it. Philosophically, I'm not crazy about the whole thing either. It's because we're sort of a representative government where, our elected officials are supposed to make those decisions. But I will say that it's very popular with the public to have those revenue limits that they want to be asked if their taxes are going to be raised. So I don't see it changing, to be honest. But I can't give you exact information on whether there's going to be any relief this time. I wouldn't look for a lot.
And the other comment I would make is on transportation and how critical that is, because perhaps you saw the article was in I think it was in the Advocate recently with respect to the city of Sturgeon Bay, who claims that with their current budgeting, they're allowed to pay approximately 1.5 miles per year. I don't know that we're right there yet. We might be less. So depending on how this funding goes in the future, we could be on a 50 to 60 year cycle of repaving some of our roads. Or it could get worse. I mean, this year we did 1.25 miles. So we have 87 miles of road. So it doesn't take a lot to figure out where we stand. So
I mean, I can't give you exact numbers, but I do think it'll be a little bit better for you on transportation on the local level this time. The real argument on our end came down to whether we were going to borrow money or raise the gas tax and all that, how we were going to pay for it more than anything. But again, the commitment's there to put more into the local governments. So I think that you will see some improvement on that. I can't give you exact numbers.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the board?
Joel, are you familiar with the homeowners' Bill of Rights? It's being introduced to the legislature. It has to do with local communities establishing a balance between their community and local zoning boards. And it sounds like Wisconsin Towns Association and Wisconsin Counties Association is opposing this bill because they believe that decisions should impact community and answer to the community rather than Madison. So I would ask you to take a close look at that and see what's with it and let us know. Or
yeah, and I'm somewhat familiar with it. I mean, I know where who's pushing this and all that and that type of thing. But I'll certainly keep that in mind as it moves forward. It hasn't gone very far yet. But
okay, so maybe it won't go anywhere.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else with a question? Thank you very much
Okay.
for coming.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the agenda. Amy, was it properly noticed?
The agenda has been properly noticed.
All right, thank you for that. And a motion to adopt the agenda would be in order.
I'll move that we adopt the agenda for Monday, July 24th, 2017, 7 p.m. Town Board meeting.
I will second that.
Motion by Chuck, second by Tony. Approve the agenda as is. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. With that, let's go to the approval of minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting from 6/19. You should have all had an opportunity to take a peek at those, given our change in how the minutes were distributed. And we also have the Board of Review from 6/26. Are there any comments or changes that we may have missed or need to update? Included in that, by the way, are the road projects that we did as an attachment. If there are no changes, a motion would be in order.
You want them separate?
You can put them together.
I wasn't at Board of Review, so.
Pardon me?
I was not at Board of Review.
Oh, well, in which case, don't make that.
I will move to accept the minutes of the regular board meeting of Monday, June 19th, 2017, and also the minutes of the Board of Review held on
6/26.
June 26th, 2017.
All
I'll
right.
second that motion.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Chuck, to approve the minutes from the Board of Review and the Board of Supervisors meetings from 6/19 and 6/26. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. All right. John, you had mentioned before we go into pending business, did you want to move up the conditional use permit?
Sure.
You want to move that up? All right, we'll do that now. So we'll move the conditional use permit establishing a winery farm market for Andy and Karen Gundred. And John, you want to start that?
Yes, first of all, I'm going to have...
You're going to pull the mic in, I think, here so these people can hear.
Okay, I would like Andy and Karen Gundrum, if you want to give your presentation first, we could go right into that, and then I will have to speak afterwards, so.
My wife Karen and I are requesting conditional use permit for a winery and farm market. We currently own 20 acres over on Highway 42 and P. And we have about 3,400 grapevines there currently. We're looking at getting a conditional use permit for a winery, and in your handout, you'll see it's the building that the front faces, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Andy, you want to hand a few of these out to anybody? Or?
Sure.
Thanks, Karen. No problem, Karen.
If you look at the handouts and also this, you can see currently our 3,400, 3,500 vines are sitting on the south 6 acres of this property currently. Okay. The winery, if approved, would be on the hill, which is approximately almost 1,000 feet from these homes, and the back would be a little bit closer to that home. Access to the winery would come off of County Trunk P, which is what the Planning Commission from the town requested, so we have no problem with that. And I have 200 feet of frontage on Highway P, so wherever I would get permission to put the driveway would be fine with me. But if the neighbors wanted farther away, if I go all the way to the edge, it would be almost 300 feet from the nearest driveway. The driveway will be asphalted, double lift. We've gotten a lot of requirements from the county board as far as plantings and light levels and so on. The building itself is going to be about 11,000 square feet. That'll include turn to the next page. That'll include a tasting area in the front with some seating for lounge, cash registers, and then the fermentation tanks and barrels, oak barrels, and that would be towards the rear. We would have some outside seating, again, facing the vineyard. It would not be really facing anybody's home because it would be up on the hill. The parking area would be coming from the east, as shown on that, with the entrance actually on the east side of the building, not the portion facing south. Any questions so far? And again, the design builder should have been here tonight presenting this, not me. This is one of the elevations, the west elevation and the east elevation. Again, it's in your handout. This would be the parking lot elevation facing east. Oh, approximately 20 feet. Sorry, 1 story. It's a 1 story. But to get the effect, we make it higher. Karen, you want to give me the sidings in there? The exterior will be the brownish color, will be a fiberboard like this. And this will be the accent colors.
And the stone trim is the split county stones, I guess. That's
Split cobblestone. This will be the front of the building facing at an angle towards Highway 42 with a sitting area out here And again, the requirement from the county was that we have a lot of trees planted around the parking lot.
Sir, could you stand on one side so we can see?
Sure.
Thank you. Much better.
Roof will be standing seam with an R42. These doors will be bifold doors, glass doors, so that we'll be able to open it up to get the true feeling.
Any question?
What's in the lower left corner of this down here? Is that pole building? Am I thinking of the same thing?
Lower left? Oh,
This game is just small enough that I can't make out what it is.
yeah. This area down
Yeah.
where, this
By the
one?
vineyard, by the
To the left.
vines?
Right by the vines, yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yes,
You
that's
mean
a pole,
current
Marshall,
home?
honey, right here. I think you mean this one right here?
Yeah, that
That's
one.
the pole, that's the building, the existing building that we keep our equipment in.
Right.
Which, this one? No, here's our building.
Honey, that's the one he's talking about, right here?
Oh,
No, but that's okay. I was talking about the house to the
house.
left. That's the existing
Way to the
building.
north.
the one way over here.
Yeah,
Underground.
okay, I got it.
That's my house.
yeah, we're currently working on the old barn that was sitting there that was built in 1850, putting a roof on it, but
Okay.
I'm with you.
Any questions?
With my knowledge of building, looking at the drawing here, this building is more than 10 feet tall.
no, I said 20
My
feet.
estimate would be like 21, 25
Right.
feet.
Right.
Like you said, it was a single story, but it's actually 20-some feet high.
Higher ceilings give it,
But not a second floor.
no second floor. Truck traffic, approximately 2 trucks a month. Either, the large box or a semi. That's about it. We would have UPS or FedEx coming in. But again, they'd be coming in off of P, and there are really no homes over here at all. Across the street, a 42, we've got storage buildings and another business. I don't know if that's of any consequence.
Made the comment that you have 200 plus feet on County Key.
Yes,
190.
There is a pine tree plantation there. Do you own up to that?
no. There was a 45-acre parcel that is between the vineyard, current vineyard, and that pine tree plantation. And I bought 5 acres of that, to give me access out to County Trunk P, and to give me another storage building, that old barn.
The driveway that was put in with the 2 wooden posts by it, where approximately on that 200 feet is that driveway located?
That's actually on the west
On the west?
west side. And again, we have no problem in moving that.
I'm just trying to get a feel as to
Yeah.
where this 200 feet is.
Yeah. And I put it there because of the proximity
Well, that's to the
Yeah,
barn that's right
to the
there.
barn, without interfering too much with anything else. And we do have almost 1,200 feet on Highway 42, and again, 200 feet on P.
Sounds good. Okay, as a plan commission, we had a plan commission meeting on June 19th to rezone the, is it 45 acres? 40? It's like 45 acres. Huh? 42.
It's 15 acres.
No, it's 20.27 acres.
Oh, 20.27 acres, there we go. from prime ag to general ag for the purpose of building a winery and a storefront. And after the discussion, our meeting, it was 5-4 and 1 against. And at the town board, we recommended to the RPC for approval, and that took place, the RPC meeting, and they approved it, and it's coming before the county board tomorrow. And after that, they had to get a conditional use permit. So on July 6th, we had another meeting, an application for a conditional use permit was taken out, and I did not make that meeting. Tony chaired that meeting, but the vote was 5-0 to approve, to recommend to the town board for approval of the conditional use permit.
Correction, it was 4-0. I didn't vote because I was chairman.
You didn't vote? Okay. It was 4-0. So, to approve, to recommend to the town board for approval of the conditional use permit. So now that is the one that is in front of us tonight. And after that meeting, we have gotten, the mailings must have went out to the neighbors from the county. And I called the county and they said that they only mail out 300 feet around the area. And that's not required, that's something that they just do. So, but in turn, I have gotten, I would say, at least 3 phone calls, and in front of us there is 5 or 6 letters, and they are all not to approve, and for reasons of the traffic is too thick, it's against the rural character, they're supposed to be built by Bellamy or Institute, and one of the other main topics was a shortage of labor help. So that's the overview of the letters. And I guess now if anybody wants to talk on their behalf.
Right, I mean, as John indicated, hindsight, right? Unfortunately, or I should say, to begin with, I believe there were 2 or 3 letters that went to the RPC at the time that they had requested the rezoning. So the RPC was aware of those letters. The additional documents that John's referring to came in within the last week or so, plus a number of phone calls from different residents, basically all opposed to us granting this. And before I give you an opportunity to speak, you need to understand that the town is a recommending only. That's all that we can do. The decision that's made is made by the county. They do give us an opportunity for our input, and therefore we have a plan commission and we solicit input, and we decide on whether we would support whatever comes before us. And we inform the county that we are in support of such a request. But the actual decision is made by the county. If we were to disagree with the county, we would have to, as strange as this seems, we would have to take the county to court. We would have to sue them to reverse any changes that they might decide they would like to make. So I just wanted to give you that as a backdrop. We are more than willing to listen to your input on this, and I want to give you each an opportunity to speak. But you should be aware that we are recommending, we recommend only in favor or against a selected project or proposal. So
I have one other thing
go ahead.
first. The reason that the Plan Commission meeting was early is because our clerk treasurer was out of town for a week. Usually we have it that Thursday right before our town board, and that gives a chance for, if there's going to be any letters, to get out. So it was just actually 1 week earlier than it normally is, and that was why it, so, okay?
So go ahead, Miss. Pardon me?
Because this is all new to me. What I'm hearing is it doesn't matter what we say, what we present to you, because the county board has the decision regardless of how we feel about it.
No, what happens here, maybe a little fine tune that a little bit, they ask us to make a recommendation, and generally speaking, they support our recommendations, either for or against, generally. Probably, and John probably has a better handle on that than I do, but 99 times out of 100 or 95, I mean, it's a high percentage of the time they follow our recommendations, okay?
Correct.
But the only purpose is just that you understand is we are not the final authority on the topic. We will give them a recommendation one way or the other, and we will decide that tonight based on the input from both the owners as well as yourself. And then the recommendation will go to the county, and they will have a hearing at which you'll be given a second opportunity on both sides of the court to discuss what concerns you might have or what support you're in favor of, or however you'd like to phrase it. And then they would make that decision. So just to give it, and I think to even maybe back up a little bit further, the RPC, which made the decision to grant them the change in zoning, was made by the RPC, but the final decision is made by the county board tomorrow. So as indicated earlier, so even though the RPC hears the case, the next court of appeals, more or less, becomes the county board, and it could go on forever, but for all practical purposes. So if you would like to address this in any way, shape, or form, we'd be happy to hear
All
your
of these
comments.
letters will be forwarded to the RPC.
Right.
So,
I have a letter.
Right?
Okay. And I don't mind going first. You do have my letter.
Yes.
We do.
And therefore I try to keep this short.
That's fine.
And, okay. Do you want me to stand or sit, or how do you?
You okay with that, Letty?
You can
Okay.
sit or
Feel
stand,
free to stay.
whatever you want.
Stay where you're at.
Oh, okay. So this is to the Town of Sevastopol Board of Supervisors. I am against the board issuing a conditional use permit to construct a winery. Since I was a child, Door County has been known as a place where families come for vacation. A place of cherry orchards in the summer and apples in the fall. Dairy farms, pastures full of cows, lakes, cottages, great places to eat, goats on the roof at Al Johnson's restaurant, beaches for children to enjoy. Now it's become a place of purveyors of alcohol beverages, not a place for families. Aesthetically, the scenery is changing from a, excuse me, I wrote this so fast, it's changing from a special place of fields and woods and full of wildflowers and wildlife depending on the season, to one of business after business and so many producing wine. Now we have another place wanting to join this group of businesses. We already have a problem with alcohol, and our roads are beginning to look like strip malls. We live in the county because this is the environment, in the country, excuse me, because this is the environment we like, not a winery and farm market changing the environment. Mr. Gundram's design looks like an urban building, such as an insurance company or a library. There is nothing about the design that fits in with the rural setting. If County P is used as a road to and from the proposed winery, it means a constant flow of exhaust, which definitely creates a health problem for those of us with lung issues. My husband has COPD. It also is a great he also is a great gardener, and the dust from the moving of dirt and the exhaust from the trucks will cause us not to be able to use our yard during construction hours. I want to put in here, it said 2 trucks. Well, when you're building and removing that dirt and leveling out that area, and I take it some of this is under storage ground, that's going to be more than 2 trucks once in a while. For a while, it's going to be a flow of, you can't construct something without trucks, okay, or working. Okay, so, excuse me for that, but, okay, from the trucks, okay, okay, be able to use our yard during construction hours. We will not be able to use our yard during construction hours. I have chemical allergies, which include petroleum products. The 4-year-old next door has allergies which have kept him inside until now, when he is starting to be able to handle the world. I am not talking about pollen acceptors, which can be controlled, but man-made allergies. So this project definitely causes health problems. Sincerely, Ben Bagnall, John.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
That's right.
Okay.
My name is Robert Malzahn. We own our home purchased in 1979 at 5490 County Highway P. We have lived in it continuously since then. My stepson Craig graduated from Sevastopol High School in 1980. I vehemently disagree with issuing a conditional use permit to build a winery, sample room, farm market on land bordering our home. Criteria for the issuance of this permit has 5 major requirements, which are 1, safety, 2, public health, 3, convenience, 4, general welfare, and 5, the character of the surrounding area. I'd like to comment on each one of these. It's all right with you. Safety. The winery combined building occupies a footprint of 17,600 square feet. The parking area will have over 60 places. There will be a turning and backing area for tractor trailers. Access to that and access to the building will be on off of County P. You'll pass the Johnson home on the east side. The family has 3 young children under the age of 10. The traffic generated by this proposed project will pose an enormous danger to the welfare of these children and many others. Public health. The effluent produced in the winemaking process will be toxic waste. How will it be handled and stored and disposed of? The septic waste from the whole operation will be handled in what manner? What are the expected volumes for each? We don't know. The operation has not applied for or received a perk. The filtration test has not been done. A preliminary planning of the sanitation department has not been done as of Friday the 21st. Convenience. The volume of traffic that is generated by this project will create havoc with the concentration at the intersection of County P and State Highway 42. County P has plenty of traffic of its own. Residential, commercial, school buses, students coming and going to school and home, construction vehicles and equipment, hauling quarry products, which is only half a mile away from our houses, the property there, and that is an endless amount of big dump trucks. It will be accidents on this intersection will be much more frequent than they are now. General welfare. In the surrounding area, we do not need another winery to be built in the backyard. There are already 5 in the area. Grandma Tommy's 44, 2 miles away. Carlsville Distillery Winery, 5 miles away. Dalton Box Winery, about 10 miles away. Stone Throw, about 8 miles away. Simon Creek, about 8 miles away. Red Oak, about 8 miles away. Enough is enough. The character of the area, from the aerial photos of the area, will show you that about 90% is farmed land, with Maple Heights subdivision adjacent to the building site. Some natural forest areas also exist in the area. Individual homes are scattered throughout the farming areas. A large 17,600 square foot building with all the amenities in the middle of present alfalfa field on 20.27 acres is totally out of place in the town of Sevastopol. This is not the direction our town development was intended. A number of years ago, we held, in 2008 to be specific, we held meetings in an attempt to keep our township in a rural, family-friendly atmosphere. This did not include a large, modernistic building out in the open. Character of this location. This building may well belong in a city or strip mall or a commercial area. The commercial area across from the proposed building is a commercial island that was formed back in the very early 60s. And it was the first occupants and founder of the idea was Bill Knotts and family and Land O'Lakes Dairy. It functioned as a distribution point. And Pat Ray was the distributor. He actually went around the whole area delivering dairy products fresh to your door. That is a commercial area and will be a commercial area. Farmers, the majority of the milk in this area was shipped to lake to lake. The farmers and the locals there were in the area all agreed with this proposition because it benefited everybody. And that was the origin of that commercial area. It is well defined with no plans or whatever for increase in size. So we're dealing with apples and oranges if you're comparing two development areas. Okay, commercial area, strip mall commercial area. We do not need it here as it's certainly not necessary. I hope you will consider what I have written, as this project affects many people in our area, the surrounding area, in a very negative way. Please do not approve or recommend approval of the project to the county board. Thank you. Sincerely, Robert Melvin.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Kathy Johnson, so I have the house right by their driveway on County P. I am voicing my opposition to this, as this was meant to be a safe, healthy place to raise kids. We also have pets and chickens, and the chickens provide food for our large family, which is a family of 9. All this activity will make it unsafe for even older kids to be in our own yard unattended. The world is full of crime and crazy people. They're expecting us to just smile at this and put our kids and pets' safety at risk. I certainly cannot afford to fence in our entire property to keep out strangers who could be wandering their property. Also, all the traffic right next to our property increases unsafe conditions on the road, which puts our kids at risk. The noise and heavy equipment to construct all this. This is not what we expected when we purchased this property almost 10 years ago. This is not what life in Sevastopol countryside should be.
Thank you.
May I speak also?
I'm going to guess you might want to.
Okay. I'm Kathy Marshall, and I think we should get to know each other, because if this goes through, I'm going to be your neighbor. I'm going to be right behind your fermenting and your crushing part of the building, so in that part of the building. So we're right next door. I wrote a letter the first time, and I don't know who got it.
Well, I went to the RPC.
Okay, I was unable to come to that meeting. I voiced my concern about another winery going up. I know you have grapes growing, and I know that on the sign it says Door 44. So are you associated with Door 44 Winery?
We sell our grapes to
All of our
them.
grapes go to Door 44.
So what is going to happen to the winery then by Grandma Tommy's? Is that staying there?
That's theirs.
That's it. So just a mile and a half to the south is going to be another winery, a wine tasting farm market, right? So we're going to have one, and then a mile and a half north we're going to have another, and then 2 miles north of us we're going to have Carlsville. So we're going to have 3 wineries awfully close together. Aren't you concerned at all about having so many wineries so close together?
No.
You're not concerned
No,
about that at all?
because most people find vineyards and wineries a very restful place to visit.
Not for neighbors.
Pardon?
Not if you're a neighbor.
You know, yeah, you're right.
I-
But I'm just telling you that we have a harvest in the fall where people ask if they can come and harvest the grapes for us. They don't get paid. They get a lunch and they get a bottle of wine at the end of the day.
You know, I would love for you to plant that whole 20.72 acres in grapes. I would
I'm
love
sure
to be
you
able to
would.
sit out on my deck and look at those vineyards. I would love that. My
Okay.
husband and I have been there since 1972, and we have always been able to look out and see beautiful farmland and birds nesting, and now your proposed building is gonna change that whole landscape of that area of the county.
Believe me, the landscaping, the county is requiring excellent landscaping plans for this. Mature trees, and you've got a line of trees on your border, and, shoot, if you want to, we're willing to be good neighbors, okay? And do whatever,
And plant the whole 20.7 acres in grapes for me.
Well, there's two
That would
of
be
us
great.
that take care of
That would
it.
be great.
There's
Three
two
of
of
us
us,
that
three
take
of
care of
us.
the grapes. and-
Okay, you should address the board.
I'm sorry. I just want to go on record as saying I'm opposed to this building. I would love grapes there, but I'm opposed to a building there.
Okay. Anyone else on either side of the,
I'm Sharon Keno. I live on East Don Road, but I really believe we don't need another winery since there are, as stated before, so many. So I'm opposed to that. Conditional use.
I'm Norman Keno. We live right across from the
could you speak up, please?
church. Pardon?
Could you speak up, please? You're supposed to address the board, not TV,
Okay,
okay?
can't hear you people either from front. Anyway, I'm Norman Keno. We live across from the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Been there for 40 years. And we're opposed to this winery. That's it.
Okay. Yes.
Mary Ellen Hayne. My concern is with the young drivers going back and forth to school, and also the school buses. If you're there anytime between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning, it's steady traffic. Sometimes there's police presence there because of the young travelers. If you're there anytime from 3 o'clock until 5, it's heavy traffic. A lot of buses go that way to go east, west, north, and south. And I'm concerned with the driveway being on County P and having inexperienced drivers and the bus drivers. That's one of my main concerns.
Okay, thank you. One more brief.
I just real brief. County P, which just got put in, is a speedway. It's pretty flat and it can go zoom, and they do go zoom. So you add it to what she said, and you got.
Okay.
May I present a different perspective?
You may indeed. We're only 30 seconds, so no. Go ahead.
The fact that the Gundrams have 5 acres of grapes and very productive is an opportunity for this to be what we would call an estate winery, meaning that the wines produced there would be made from the grapes that are also produced there. So in that respect, it is agricultural in nature. It also provides an opportunity for growth in grape growing viticulture in Door County because it has facility to handle grapes grown by other smaller growers that might be interested in maybe an acre or 2 acres of grapes. People have tried to grow hops, for instance, in this area with limited success because they didn't have any place to go with their hops. This presents a very similar scenario to having cherry orchards and having a processor in the county to take cherries from growers. I'm not projecting that this is going to be the start of a large viticulture area. I mean, it already has a designation, a federal designation as a appellation called the ledge. So all the wine that's produced in this area is designated from the ledge, very similar to any other appellation federally established, similar to Niagara. Michigan has several appellations. If you go across to the Traverse City area, you will see much more developed viticulture, much more developed wineries. The wineries provide, as far as tourism, provide what they already have is somewhat limited, what they call wine trail now, and it offers tours to the various wineries that are already doing business. And I think this is, you know, with the exception of possibly Bob Wadenbach's operation, this is probably the largest operating vineyard associated will be associated with a winery. And I just think it's a unique opportunity for our area to have an estate winery with grapes being produced, not only by the Gundrams, but possibly by other growers in the area. So it definitely is it's a new, well, not a relatively new concept, but I think it's one that offers opportunities to other growers in the area. And I think it's a great step forward.
Okay.
One other one.
Which one you made?
Where has our town of Sevastopol's comprehensive plan gone? This basically has been discussed by the whole town for a number of years. This seems like a sale talk, pitch talk for wineries, grapes, etc. This winery could be built areas of Sevastopol, if that's where you want to be, but in much less populated or much less dangerous area than we are experiencing here.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that hasn't spoken or any other questions? John, I turn this back to you for a few minutes here.
Okay. Well, I don't have a whole lot. Tony, do you have anything to add from the meeting?
Well, no, we, like I say, the Plan Commission, you know, 4 of them voted for it. A couple things bother me about this whole situation, and I've got a half a dozen to a dozen phone calls. I got letters. I think what we have to do as a town, whenever anything like this comes up, we got to let the neighbors know. Don't worry, don't say the county has to. I think we as a town board, all the neighbors should have been told, like immediately when we first found out. Because that's just the way you're supposed to, you know, I think that's the way it should be done. I'm not blaming anybody, I'm not saying, you know, I was even told by quite a few people, okay, who's pulling the strings? Why is this being handled this way that the neighbors didn't find out, you know, right away? And it should have been, I think the next time something like this comes up, you know, I know we post the meetings, but
That's
people,
a change of policy.
Pardon?
That's a change of policy. And
we'll change the dang policy then. I mean, you know what I mean?
Takes time. The county said that they do not
I know that,
have
but
to
can't
send
we,
that out.
so in other words, we as a town have to kowtow, we can't put our own, we cannot tell people.
We can do that, but we have to do that on every single one then. I mean,
Well,
you
so we
can't
do.
just do it on certain few.
We can consult. I mean, I don't have a major issue with that, but
No.
we'll consult to make sure that we don't dig ourselves a hole.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the process for identification of all the surrounding properties kind of gone by the wayside for, you know.
Yeah,
for
I mean, it's like
many
the
of
old
these
thing where we
things,
can't
yeah.
do it because they said.
Well, no,
Who in the
it's-
Blue Blazes are they? That's what I wanna know. You know what I'm
Well,
getting
that's-
at?
That's
It's
something
always
to
they
debate at a
said.
different meeting.
Yeah, pardon?
That is something to debate at a different
Okay,
meeting.
are we ready for a motion?
I don't know, are we? I guess alls I've got left is I have 4 extra letters and 3 phone calls, and I know quite a few of the other supervisors had phone calls. I don't know if they're all the same people, but more than likely they probably were. But all in all, I bet you there's, guessing, 20 or 30 people that object, so. Other than that, if you would like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we do not recommend to the RPC for a conditional use permit. To the town board.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Tony, second by Chuck, to not recommend to the county RPC that we support the winery and farm market. Before we vote, is there any last conversations? Linda?
I'm going to go back to our June 19th meeting when the town board, when the zoning, change in zoning request came before the town board. And it was that zoning request to change from prime ag to general ag. That was unanimously approved. And I'm all for local business, entrepreneurs. And in my mind, I can't speak for the other board members, but in my mind, I had no objection to a farmer's market / selling wine. So I think this conditional use permit caught me a bit off guard, not realizing what the scale of this project was. I do have some questions for the applicants, if I could ask.
Before we take a motion, go ahead.
Yeah. Water discharge, well situation, high capacity well, exactly how much do we need to?
No high-capacity well,
Okay.
no discharges. Parking area as far as water runoff will be handled like any new project where it gets diverted into a pond area or whatever. You know, it's just,
Okay. And then this might be a question for Richard or between the 3 of you. Are there no other facilities in Door County that are currently processing grapes?
Yes, they are processing grapes. I would say, I forgot Bob Laudenbach's operation name, but Bob Laudenbach would probably be the considered, the next larger operation that processes grapes. Like I indicated, this is probably the first what I would consider a state winery in town of Sevastopol. Most of the other wineries do bring in outside
Grapes, right? There's
juice.
Unless
They bring
it's
in bigger brings.
and
That-
state bottle of wine that's combined with other grapes.
Yeah, so that's what makes this project unique.
And then I do have a couple other comments as well, if I may. I did look at our future, the Malzahns have referred a couple times to our comprehensive plan, which is due for an update come 2018. So this is a good time to think about updating that, 10-year update. I have looked at our future land use map. I am looking at the intersection of County P and Highway 42, and it does indicate residential or multifamily, just for your reference, in case you haven't looked at our comprehensive plan lately. I would also like to bring to the applicant's attention that you are on the Door County Coastal Byway, which has very strict signage requirements and regulations. Right, so you can have an on-premises sign, a fairly large on-premises sign, but if you're having your access before your property that you're going to have an off-premises sign along the highway, which is going to be small. So just so you're aware of that. And I too would have a problem with safety concerns there. I don't know if there's a cure for it. Yes, there's bus traffic, there's student traffic, there's all kinds of traffic, construction traffic, so that's definitely a concern. And again, referring to our comprehensive plan, it was our goal to keep the rural character. And I'm just wondering if this architectural drawing could be modified as such to be in better keeping with a rural setting. That would be up to you folks. So those are my thoughts. It might be better suited in one of our hamlets, such as Bellamy or Institute, where we have, you know, businesses already.
It would be very difficult to put a vineyard.
Well, I'm not the vineyard, but you know, maybe
The
your
whole
product,
premise of this
selling
is-
your on-premises.
Is a vineyard and a wine.
On-premises.
Any other comments?
Those are my thoughts.
I would have only one comment before we vote, and that is, unfortunately, I think this should have been addressed as a consolidated one-meeting presentation where we had the big picture. And I'm sorry to say that, unfortunately, that did not happen, but I think that's
The trouble with that
inhibited.
is they're two different.
I
They got 'em
understand. If we'd
separated.
have put them together on a similar day for, you know, I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just saying the way the thing rolled out, it ideally would have been better as one. Any rate, hearing that, we have a motion from Tony, seconded by Chuck, to not recommend to the, to recommend to the RPC to not grant the change and allow the winery and farm market. All those in favor? Go ahead, one last comment.
One
Go
last
ahead.
comment.
All right.
So we're voting on the conditional use permit as presented before us, not with any modifications or conditions or anything like that, just as it is right now.
As I have heard
That's all we can
from
vote on
Tony.
is the conditional use.
Well, we can
right?
set conditions and parameters if we so choose.
Can I just ask a procedural question? The committee, you already had, the planning committee met,
Right.
and they make a recommendation to the board. Now what you're doing is you're going backwards. You're
Correct.
We haven't done
You're
that
creating
yet,
a new
Richard.
motion, you're creating a new motion opposite of the committee's recommendation. Procedurally, I would think you would want to vote on a recommendation of the committee first, before you see what I mean?
Well, yes and no. The first meeting on, what was it, June 19th, we did not have this information, we didn't have this information, and it was just a change from prime ag to general ag. And then at the second meeting, this information was presented, right? And we didn't, and the letters must not have been out to the public yet. And within the last 3 or 4 days, this has been just blowing up with all the letters coming in, which changes things. So I don't know how else to explain
I
it,
think
but
all that's happening here is the town plan commission makes a recommendation to the town.
well, yes, the
They
plan
are
commission
making a
recommends to
recommendation
the
to the
town, they
town.
can overturn it, the town, and then town recommends to the
I'm just
RPC, they
saying
can
that
overturn it, and
what
then the
you're
county
doing
can
appears to be going backwards.
Not really, because they recommend to us, the plan commission, same thing as if we recommend to the RPC to do something, and they go against us, they're not going backwards, Richard.
Can I,
Correct?
let me offer up a thought. I think that as a member of the planning commission, I think the planning commission understands that in the process of reviewing it and making a recommendation to the board has the right to accept, reject, or ignore altogether the recommendation that the planning commission makes. I think that with the passage of time and new information, I think that there's nothing that the planning commission can do that usurps the right of the board to make a decision on this matter from the get-go.
You are exactly correct. So, back to the vote. Anybody else have any final comments?
One final
You?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. We put our faith in these various departments and agencies. So we are depending on the Plan Commission, to bring us information and act in our best interest. I realize that's not always the case. So if I vote in opposition or contrary to the Plan Commission's recommendation, please don't take it personally after listening to all the facts. So.
Well, in the Plan Commission's defense, they did not have all the facts at when they met. So this stuff came in afterwards. So, I'm part of the Plan Commission. Jim's part of the Plan Commission. Richard, you were part of it at one time, so you know how it works. So.
Okay, so we're back to the vote.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. So we will then send to the RPC where we stand on this issue, and it is a change, but perhaps the correct one. Thank you.
We have to do another sheet, I suppose.
They didn't pay for these. These are
This-
mine.
Those are.
Hold it, excuse me.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
You didn't ask.
Well, I'm asking.
Excuse me. Feel free to take this, ma'am, if you
I'm
need.
sorry, I
Not a problem.
didn't mean to cause a problem.
You're welcome to take them. I would tell you that after what's happened here, excuse me, miss?
I thought we were dismissed.
No, we are not. My final comment on this topic is that obviously some of you feel fairly strong about this, which means that on August 22nd, you are going to appear where?
No, August 3rd.
Excuse me, August
3rd.
3rd. Got the wrong. The point of the conversation is that you go and express your opinions to the RPC. They will have an opportunity to present their case to the RPC as well. So if you feel strongly, as I said to you earlier, we make a recommendation, they can decide to overrule us, and they can give them the go-ahead to do so. So if you feel strongly, then it's your obligation, just as they would, to present your case at that meeting or
Could you give
hearing.
us, Dan, the date of that meeting again and the time?
I just gave you the wrong date.
August 3rd at 2 p.m., the Government Center downtown, the old courthouse on Nebraska Street.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know why I got the wrong date, but I did. Okay. Back to pending business. Clark Lake Dam status, Tony.
9.2 this morning. And I got a couple calls from people on the lake today. I haven't had any calls all summer, and they were attaboys. That we're doing a good job on the dam because the water is high enough and people can get their boats in and out.
On a separate note, does Mr. Van Bellinger have his key?
He hasn't come up yet.
Okay. Appears that that issue is resolved. So, okay, Haverly Road parking lot, Chuck?
Well, in your package, you got several photos of what's been happening out there. You can see the parking lot is in, the county put it in, 6 inches of breaker on top of a ground fabric with 6 inches of road gravel on top of that. Both layers were compacted with a heavy roller, and the driveway has been redone. A couple other pictures showing the gate going in, and the new sign.
Is that your tractor?
Is that Tony's new tractor?
With the assistance of our chairman, we got the gate up with no problems. Concrete blocks had started to come in for the so-called fencing. In turn, they did a little damage to the gate, which will have to be reset now. But the blocks are coming in kind of in between deliveries of ready mixed concrete. So when they have a lull in their trucking, they can bring a load of blocks out and set them.
Are they
They
setting
can
them
only
too right
carry
away?
8 blocks at a time. They well over 2 tons each. So, 8 blocks on the truck with the crane, took them roughly an hour and 15 minutes to set those in place. So, things are moving there. I've got a hold of Lily Bay, and we're in the process of getting some machinery out there to finish up the landscaping, if you will. Nick Eaker will be, weather permitting, and the finishing of his job in Kiwani, said he would show up tomorrow with the stump grinder and the spray equipment to finish his portion of that project. Once that is all done, you and I need to get together, Tony, with park employees and see about putting up the fence between the road and the parking lot. We've already procured the materials to do so, now we just need the laborers. So the thing is moving along pretty good.
So have we, couple things from my trip out there, signage, have you talked to Greg Colthurst about some kind of directional signage to the lot? Because that's, I think we should do something.
We've talked about it, we haven't come to any conclusions yet. We're working on possibly putting a no parking sign on either side of the road down by the creek, and a blue informational sign at the driveway of the parking lot with an arrow pointing in and just stating parking or public parking, something like that. There are some requirements for signs as far as the donations toward the construction of this parking lot. There were numerous grants and donations to help pay for it, and these people would like their recognition. So that sign is anticipated on going on one of the signposts that is previously used for the landfill. And if we need any other signs, it still needs to be discussed and their locations chosen, so.
Okay.
How much damage was to the gate?
No real damage, it's just that we bumped into the posts and kind of bent them in, so now the gate doesn't close properly. It's just a matter of getting them straightened out again.
Okay, and then on this picture where your truck is, along where the jagged edge for the gravel away from the road, that's where those blocks are going? And then down, are they going up?
If you take a look at the picture where the full tractor is.
Okay.
And I'm locking the gate at that point. If you notice on the ground right next to the post, there's some orange paint.
Yep.
That depicts where those blocks go.
Okay.
Either side of those posts, looking at the picture on the right-hand side behind the tractor, would go from the post to the woods.
Okay.
On the other side, it comes out at an angle to the corner of the parking lot, and then it outlines the parking lot.
It's
And then
set off the gravel.
Right, and then in the front part, it's just
Across
gonna be a fence.
Across the east end, which is the front of where my truck is parked, and all along down the right-hand side.
So they won't be able to get to the back.
They will not be able to get through. The blocks are 2 foot by 2 foot by 6 foot. They weigh 4,000 pounds. They are spaced 2 feet apart.
Let's see the kids move those.
So,
there you go.
Somebody moves out, we're gonna find the vehicle
on
damaged.
the north side of the parking lot, which is on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see some of the old fence posts along the ditch line.
Yes.
We intend to remove those posts, replant them, and string new wire on them.
Okay.
From the driveway up to the wooded area.
Barbed wire?
So it's barbed wire, yes. There will be 3 strands of barbed wire on steel T-posts.
Let's make it electric. Right away.
You bring the power out, we'll do it.
I've got a, what do you call it, solar electric fencer.
So,
Okay, anything else on that? If not, we'll move on to the Phragmites update, and that falls back with Chuck. He loves those things.
Chuck loves his Phragmites.
well, as stated previously, we've had meetings with the Bay Shore property owners. We've had meetings with representatives of the Woodland Drive Association. Today I had a conversation with the representative spokesperson for the Whitefish Bay Association. We are getting our so-called champions, the people that will be walking the beaches and looking for the Phragmites, to identify them and mark their locations so that they can be mapped. We did send out a letter in conjunction with the county's letter informing the people of our voluntary program and requesting donations to help fund it. In turn, we've received quite a few responses, positive responses, and considerable amount of money as of today. There will be in the future a resolution put forth on your desk tonight. You have a draft of one designating or forming a designated fund to put those donated dollars in so that they are used for the purpose they were intended, which would be the eradication or control of the Phragmites. As of that right now, we did hold a meeting in the town here about a week ago. The invasive species team from the Door County Soil and Water Conservation Department presented a explanation of the Phragmites, how it grows, what it looks like, how to identify it. They are willing to do that program again should more people become interested in it. We're just going to keep pushing along here.
Was that videotape, Chuck?
Pardon?
Was that videotape, that one?
Yes,
it
Laddie
was,
was here.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
So people can watch it on TV. And, I said, if anybody, any organization, any group of people wishes to get to form a group, we can have that presentation again. So.
Okay.
I do understand, and I talked with Krista Lucky today. She's our invasive species team leader. In the mailing to the shoreland owners, few people were missed, and we're trying to compile a list of who did not get the letter or the forms for their invitation to partner in. And once we put that together, we may mail out, make another mailing to those people. Some of the mistakes wound up that the properties had been purchased and the addresses didn't match up, or more than one person owns the property and whoever did receive the letter did not pass it on to the other owners. So those are some of the concerns we have right now in order to make this work. Once we get a handle on the shoreland, we do intend to move inland. There are plenty of creeks and ponds and lakes in the town that have the problem. We know it's there, but at this point we got to start somewhere, and we chose to start on the lakefront because that's most likely the place where these Phragmites can spread the fastest. when the wave action, the ice and that rips them out, moves them on to the next piece of property. So, if anybody knows of a spot where Phragmites are, they can report it in, we'll get it on the map, and time and money is the concern. We will try to take care of it as fast as we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item is update on road work. I talked with Thad Ash in terms of where we're at. The repair projects that we authorized, Whitefish Bay, the culvert on was it Country View, some of that other road work, Jorns Road, et cetera, should occur in the month of August. They got tied up, and they have been tied up in some pretty big projects, but they've now moved them up the list. They've contacted Diggers Hotline, et cetera, so you should see some progress on that in the next month. Also, I had to give them a little nudge on the street signs, just as an FYI, and now they are actively working that list. And I have shared with them the goal is to straighten up and replace wherever, and if it's bad, needs attention, call Amy or me, and we'll add it to the list, but they're gonna start fixing those. They've been a little slow moving on that, in that regard. The Bellamy Road intersection with Whitefish Bay, that started today. I know that John drove through it, I drove through it. They milled the street. They're working on the drain pipes.
How many trucks are sitting?
And so that whole intersection has been taken down about 4 inches. And I believe their plan is this week to put down 1 layer of blacktop after they've replaced the drains that run from the happy hour and in front of the old V-bar. So all that drains properly. As you know, they did some of that work last year. So their hope is in very short order to be able to at least put down a single layer of blacktop on that intersection so it won't impact the businesses. And just as an FYI, the rest of Whitefish Bay from the top of the hill down to Nelson Lane will be completely pulverized like Bluff Drive was. And that'll occur, could start to occur as early as next week, and that may be in a state of gravel for a limited time frame unknown right now. So, pardon me?
How limited?
I've encouraged them to do it as quickly as possible, but I'm only one of many. So, at any rate, the good news is they know it's an issue, and they'll try and get at it reasonably quick. Onto the 1.25 mile road that we did pave, Bluff Drive. It's been paved, and the lines should have been repainted.
It's striped.
It's striped.
Shouldered.
Okay, and shouldered.
Swept.
I had to send them back out to correct the gravel because they had gravelled over the new pavement. It turns out that Northeast jobs that out to somebody. And so they didn't quite do the job they should have done, so we chased them back out there. They rolled that, they then brushed off the pavement and everything else. However, in the end, we ended up with, they changed the curve at Martin and Bluff. And what's happened is they changed the elevation, and at the curve where Chuck's home used to be, his prior residence, we now have a fairly good ski hill. So it's a fairly significant drop off. The road got built up on that edge, and I would say it's probably close to 4 feet from the ditch to the top of the road. So we are now left with the options to investigate a guardrail or maybe not. We're just looking at that right now. I got the county looking at it. And we may have to reseed the slope and try and get some grass to grow there to hold the gravel, because after the rain, it washes down into the ditch. And since the ditch is curved and you can't buy curved culvert, we're kind of between a bunch of gravel and a rock and a hard place. So I don't know what the impact of that is going to be. I'm working with the county now to try and find out what's up. The landowners called, was fairly upset. We'll figure out some solution to it. So if somebody contacts you, please let them know it's a work in progress. So that's it on the road work.
When are they, did I miss it? What are the plans for the bridge? When are they starting that?
We've got a permit. The permit came in from the DNR. The hope is that, well, I think it's going to get delayed. The original thought was that the end of July and early August, when the water level was down in Clark Lake, the lowest water level would be to our advantage, but as you know, the lake level hasn't dropped much, so it's going to probably be in the fall as the best time for us to do it and for him to do it with the least expense, et cetera. It's going to be at low water, and it's still fairly high, and it's flowing through there well, so. But anyway, that's still on the plan. We did get the permit to do it, so we've made some progress from that regard.
Wasn't that with a cost sharing too?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I have that note here and I didn't read it. Yes, there is a fund from the county. The Highway Committee approves the bridge aid. And so what'll happen is that cost, which we ballpark around $25,000, will be split. The county will send us a check for half of that. So it's not all out of our pocket, which is good because I have a feeling we could be buying some guardrail and we weren't expecting that. So, and all we have to do is submit the bill that's been approved at the Highway Committee level. So, okay. We'll spend a few minutes here. The next item is the capital improvement plan. And somebody did some work a while back, but didn't bother to share it with me or remind me. So I did some more work on the same topic on the agenda, on the capital improvement plan, and there should be a page in front of you that looks like this. It says Town of Sevastopol, the date, and it says capital improvement program. Has everybody got that? If not, we have the world's fastest copier. We can make a few extra. This was all emailed to all of you last week. Pardon me?
Chuck can have that one.
Here, Chuck, you got this one? Use that one. So I'm just going to go read through this briefly as a basis for the conversation, and then we'll go from there. And this was touched on, 2000?
August of 2014.
August of 2014, oh, it's right here. August of 2014 by our former clerk treasurer. Any rate, we had talked about the fact that we needed to establish a capital plan. I could not recall Linda's hard work, so I went out and started one, and I have an abbreviated version, but a full copy for you as well of Linda's hard work. And the capital plan is a multi-year financial plan that lists and describes capital projects that the town plans to undertake and indicates how projects will be funded, plans out finances for equipment or infrastructure, so a new well, new this, new equipment, projects the effects of the plan on key financial variables, such as what will it do to our property tax rate, and how the town is spending your resources in coming years. So if somebody wants to know, why is the budget such, why are we spending? We have a capital plan in place, it's public knowledge, we're trying to make the following improvements. When we have a CIP plan, it can deliver the following benefits, which would be helps evaluate competing demands for resources based on a prioritization, reflecting the town's long-term goals and objectives. So if we have competing projects, we can identify which ones and prioritize them. Identifies, prioritizes, and optimizes the financing of our capital projects. And basically, you know how we finance projects here. We basically have three options. We pay as we go. In other words, the tax dollars we collect and spend. Federal or state grants, if there are any. And lastly is debt financing. So much like we did with the town hall, we borrowed money to build a town hall. We're now paying it back. In addition, it informs the public about the town's investments in infrastructure intentions and priorities, which helps also reduce any reactionary response on our part. And it gives us a timetable for construction or completion of the project, creates a schedule of tasks to be completed by certain dates as a prelude to generating the town's annual budget. So obviously, before we would have our budget workshop, we'd like to try and develop, at least to start this year, with a capital plan. And sets a future annual schedule for developing, revising, or updating our capital plan. And all this should hopefully happen before October. So, I'm not knowing that Linda had done some hard work for us a few years ago. I had absolutely no recollection that you did that. I apologize. and I've made a copy of Linda's, which is more detailed than what I shared with you tonight. There's a copy you'll get at the end of the meeting, so you can review that as well. And then I thought we'd start the conversation with trying, and this is where I'd ask your input, on what items you thought we should consider for a capital plan, and then we can start to build off of that. So, whoever feels like starting that conversation.
You want to start it now?
I want to at least identify some things, and then we'll put it on our agenda for next month, and we'll start to work through this and try and figure out how best to handle it. But we got to put a stake in it.
Full-time town maintenance man, or person, I guess I have to say, to be politically correct. My wish list, I sure could use a bigger tractor for the park. Want me to keep going on, John?
We'll take it out of the parks budget.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And you're serious about the tractor piece, Tony?
Yeah.
How big a tractor do you want?
Well, if we could get one, the one we've got now is wearing out. Connor's been welding it, fixing it. And you pick up a bucket of sand, and I mean, you can't get do a whole lot of work with it.
Well, it's a small bucket, that's what.
Yeah, well, it's a small tractor though, too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a pretty small tractor.
Okay.
He popped the bucket off, he put the lawnmower back on it. And, he's been using that for cutting the, it's bigger, so they've been using the two bigger machines. Cause I tell you what, that grass, every 3 days you gotta cut grass. Anyway.
Okay. Anything else, Tony?
No.
Chuck, anything?
We've been considering a new truck with a plow in order to do our own plowing around the town hall and.
But if we get a tractor with a blower on it, work, Anyway.
Okay. Anything else?
We're going to need some type of mower or we're going to have to hire somebody to take care of that landfill on an annual basis.
I think that would fall under, it would probably be too minor an expense to have to deal with, I'm guessing. But typically going back to some of the work that Linda done too, typically we don't bother to try and deal with amortization of things that were capital, anything under 5,000, so unless we were in that.
Well, again, I sound like a broken record. You get a tractor, you get one with a blower on it, you could blow the yard here. You wouldn't need a lawnmower, but you could put a bush hog on the back and, trim that.
Well, we'll tell you about part 2 after we get through this.
Take care of Tony's request, we can take care of all of them.
Okay, yeah, you got that right. Linda, I picked up from your document, so I know that some of it is on there. Do you have anything additional that you might want to include, at least as a starting point?
Well, I brought it forward back in August of 2014 at the suggestion, recommendation of our auditor, for one thing, and our future spending plan. And then also, if you're going to apply for grants, especially TRIP funds, projects have to be identified at least 2 years ahead of time, on the radar. So that was the main purpose.
Right.
And I think rather than just thinking off the top of our heads right now, bring it back and then prioritize. Is this just something I want? Is it something we need? Is it something really urgent and we have to have it? I mean, you've got to have a rating system. I think I had come up with a rating system of, cost, projected lifetime, effect on operating and maintenance costs. If we buy something, then we have maintenance on that. If we purchase something or improve something, the effect on our revenue base. Is it going to be a tax levy? Is it going to be self-funded from revenues or fees? So there's a lot of things to think about rather than just making a list of, gee, it would be nice if we had this.
I didn't want to scare him tonight.
Well.
That's why I took the slow approach.
I got my 2 cents, I don't care.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, because that's when Tony said something, I said, you have to get the other shoe, which is, yes, I mean, to your point, we have to figure out what the cost is. It's not a matter of we're gonna hire a full-time employee. If we did, what's he gonna do? You know, and then you have to put all the associated costs together with that, and, you know, that's part of the process. But
And budget, just like the state, budgeting time is right around the corner, so
Right.
I would urge the committees to get together, and if you want to use a rating sheet, fine, but start pulling your numbers together for our budget.
So, did you have anything other than these that you wanted to add? I did send this out ahead of time so that someone could have an opportunity to think a little bit about anything. Like, you know, did you want your own, you know, whatever. Okay, so you don't, that's fine. I've got
I
a couple
cannot
of
think
things.
of anything off.
Okay, that's fine. John,
In
did
the
you have
last week or
anything
so.
that?
Well, I don't know if this is gonna fall over the $5,000, but it's gonna maybe be close, but I know there's a lot of updating on the comprehensive plan. And the other thing I thought of is, you know, we fixed the well, but how long is it gonna last? I mean, that's a pretty good, that could come back at any time.
And we do have, I believe it's 12,000 in our designated to cover
Right.
this updating of our comprehensive plan, so.
Yeah, we've
at
had
least-
that in there for a little bit, so,
Okay.
okay. On my own, since I was involved, and I can't even find the records of when I bought the Skag for the town park, but I gotta believe that part of this whole town park scenario is eventually a replacement for that, and I think when we bought it was $12,000.
They're
So,
saying when to replace it about 15.
Yeah, and I put down on my own also either, you know, dealing with a new well or a treatment device. You know, if we have this, later on, I think in the correspondence, we have a copy of the water tests, which were fine again. But, you know, as a future problem, that might be one of the things. So, the key piece, and we'll give you all the legwork that Linda had done a few years back, but we're gonna have to try and establish what items are a priority, and then what is the total cost, and how are we gonna pay for it? And then if we decide that, I don't care, for conversation's sake, new truck, new tractor, whatever, or new well, you know, we have to make a determination of what kind of monies we're gonna put towards that, and in what kind of time frame do we wanna try and achieve that. And it's not to say that if we do this, and we do it correctly, each year we'll revisit this. You know, priorities could change, so, you know, it's with cash flow, we might not have enough cash or in the budget to buy this or do that, and so we move, you know, to the next category. So you need to give that some idea and think through that, because in the total cost, especially when it comes to like an employee, you're talking about a lot of factors, because not only is it the employee, it's all the things that come with it, because what's that employee gonna do for 12 months of the year? We know what they'll do for 6 or 7, but, you know, after that, you know, what happens to them?
But you know, we're getting big enough now too. I mean, we
Yeah.
could be out replacing road signs. There's quite a bit to actually
Right,
do,
I
so.
agree, it's just that we have to figure out what all those things are, because at some point in time, that salaries and those benefits and those costs will come along, so. And I think Tony is getting too old to be our full-time employee. No, I didn't mean that, Tony, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, you agree? Oh, your wife agrees. She wants you to be the
Yeah, but
full-time employee.
she'll be my helper.
Yeah. Okay, so take a look at the work that Linda had done, and we'll give you a copy of that. Get some thoughts, we'll put this back on the agenda, and we'll try and work it a little bit next time we get together. Okay? As I have done periodically, I have misplaced, I found it in my agenda. Okay, ordinances and resolutions, we have none. We do, however, have the financial reports for June and a treasurer's report from Amy. So, in the financial reports, you have the budgets versus actual, the fund balances. Anybody has any questions on those things? I know periodically on the budget versus actuals I do, and I call Amy and she cleans it right up for me, because I forget a lot of things. Right.
I'd like to see on budget versus actual, in the second category, we're looking donations, number 4850001.
Yeah.
And then we have donations for EMR's defibrillators, which is 0002. I'd like to see a line item 0003 for the donations that are coming in under Phragmites control program at this time, so that those monies can be deposited. And
Amy, I assume you can handle that without too much effort?
We can do that.
Okay, no problem. You also have the transaction list by date. So, any questions on anything, or anybody needs to change anything? If not, we'll have a motion to accept those.
move that we accept the financial budget versus actual, and place them on file.
I second.
Motion by Chuck, second by Tony, to accept the financial reports for June 2017. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll do that. And Amy, do you have anything that you want to share with us this month on your treasurer's report?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, I don't think I like the sound of that. Okay.
Our dues and membership category is currently above the budgeted amount because we did have the supervisors go to training, some of them. I also attended Clerk Treasurer Institute 2 weeks ago in Green Bay. And we also offered a CPR AED certification class for board members and committee members. So that's why it is a tad above the budgeted amount. We took no action on our breakwall CD, so it renewed for another 12-month period at that term at 0.80%. We did receive the bill for the road work that was done on Bluff Drive from Northeast Asphalt. I did make an interim transfer from one of our money markets to cover this expense. When we receive our tax settlement, I will transfer the monies back. I also encourage the committees to start thinking of budget items and numbers and everything else that goes along with that, because we will be asking for those shortly.
I didn't think October was that soon. Sure. Wait a minute.
Okay,
You
we may
have more
have
than
to
one
leave.
question? Or just one?
Chatty Cathy.
Okay.
I think we talked about this once before. The state, local government investment pool, if you look at the financials, is paying interest at 0.77. It's nice to bank local, but if you look at our local rate, the highest rate is 0.28 on our checking. So just
Can we move that?
3
Move-
times as much.
No, or-
When you transfer funds, okay, then you have a wire fee or a transfer fee. Might be something to check into, what does a wire fee cost for transferring funds, from local government to our checking when we need it. That's a really good rate, 0.77.
And that's on the savings?
Yeah, the small amount that we have
We have
with
very
the
little in
state
there,
funds.
right.
Yeah, we have
Phenomenal
very
amount.
little in there.
But are you suggesting, because we'd still keep the checking account there?
Right, but we
But
have.
you're just saying transfer the money out of the other two?
Yeah, we've got 350 sitting in our designated. We'd
Okay.
probably have to check with our auditor to make sure that we could move designated funds to another banking institution. I don't know, just a thought.
Well, we've moved some stuff around to get different finance rates, as we did last year and the year before with Bay Lake, as you know. What about putting some more of that money in the CDs? What amounts that we could transfer into a CD and get a better rate?
On a short term?
On a short term, or even long term, because some of the money we don't necessarily need to draw out.
Well,
I
we
mean,
won't-
we're not going to draw out
Right.
money for the reassessment, for example. At least I
Right,
hope
and
not.
our next $100,000 loan payment wouldn't be due until March 1st, so, I don't know, just a thought.
Well, we can have our treasurer peek into that and see if there's anything else, because I'm all in favor of pressing those people for a little better rate. I mean, they're making a good deal of money. They seem to come up with enough money to buy other people too. So, all right.
And our interest income so far is up. It's nearly double of what was
of what we budgeted,
Yeah,
so.
but $2 from $1 is still not a lot. Okay, good enough. Next, approval of vouchers, bills, and claims. I assume everybody has had that? Opportunity to look and sign those?
Yes.
Okay, motion approved would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims.
All right.
I will second that motion.
Motion by John, second by Linda for the approval of vouchers, bills, and claims, June 20th, 2017 through July 24th, 2017. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, oral committee or commission reports. Anybody have anything in that area that they want to speak to?
The only thing I have is, we're down to one park employee right now. Tyler, a number of years ago, had a little problem. He had a brain tumor for growth, and he'd been doing pretty good, but it came back on the other side. So he's gonna be off for a while. So Connor, you know, one good thing, we don't have a whole bunch of ball games. Bad thing is, he's having a heck of a time keeping up, cutting grass. So the last 3 Friday afternoons, I've gone and cut grass in the afternoon. He doesn't want me cutting the town hall because too many people stop and talk to me. It took me 4 hours to cut the grass.
Can't imagine that.
Everybody stops.
Seriously?
It's not my fault.
You talk?
Amy, would you pick up a roll of duct tape?
I have one back there.
But anyway,
Well, thanks for the effort, but
yeah, Tyler's back home. He's doing pretty good.
Tyler.
He's gotta go back in about a month, but they're hoping in a couple of weeks he'll be able to come back and, you know, start working again.
well, if we need somebody over there that helped us in the past, you know, feel free to contact them and
Yeah.
get somebody in. All right, anyone else with any oral committee reports? All right. We have nothing in the license and permits. Safe built, I shouldn't say that. We have the safe built, and new construction reports for the town. A lot of little stuff, depending on, I shouldn't say little, but a lot of things seem to be going on within the town. And then we have time on the agenda for the, I guess we'll give you time, Linda. We'll do the District 14 Supervisor Linda Waits, County Board Report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Board meets tomorrow morning, Tuesday, at 9 a.m. On Thursday, starting at 8:30 a.m., County Board is having a retreat. And I have a feeling we're going to be talking about the budget and our capital improvement plan. So that's on the agenda for this week. Also, on July 14th, Whitefish Bay Dunes State Park celebrated its 50th anniversary. I know that our representative Joel Kitchen was there. I arrived late, so I didn't get to see the opening ceremony, but I understand it was fantastic. It included music and a program and lunch, and I did have cake. So congratulations once again to Whitefish Dunes State Park on their 50th anniversary. And there, that's enough.
That's it. Well, very, very brief. We shouldn't allow so much time. All right, remaining items here are correspondence. I think you have all got copies of this, but basically some informational things like the good state of Wisconsin sent us a check for $46,809 and a penny for our transportation aids, which we put to good use and spent already. Notice of timber cutting. I was out, just as an FYI, the county got a call regarding timber cutting on Cinnamon Lane. And some concerned citizen thought that somebody who shouldn't be was out whacking trees. So I went out there and talked and found 2 people who were having their property logged. So talked with them, and we still have to resolve how we're going to handle someone who wants to cut some trees at the end of Cinnamon Lane. You have the city's fire department report for the month. And the water test results are in there, good news, after having a hiccup as usual. In here, I'd asked Amy to contact Baldwin Surveying and Engineering. It turns out that Some of the towns are using them to prepare bid documents for road construction. I frankly am not sure at this moment that we would need to spend the additional money to have them do that for us. They work on a fee basis, but there are quite a few communities, as you'll see listed, that have gone out, and basically they're making sure that the roads are done accordingly. I say that tongue-in-cheek because I wonder if I'd have used them if we'd have had the issue on the corner of Bluff Drive and Martin. So it may be something to think about next year when road construction comes up. So it's in there for your perusal. Mariah Good's movie, Thursday, the 27th. More timber cutting. This is the other gentleman that I chatted with. And a real property listing in what, the last year of the, this is the fire department's distribution of their audit. Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services, which is the group that governed the fire service, the fire department. So I think that's everyone. If I missed something. Which one?
What decision on the assessors?
Oh, I did have that in there. I must have missed that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. I got a call on this, believe it or not, so I got to read it. But the Supreme Court overruled a local town saying that the individual, now I got to think twice about what it was I was going to say. They reversed the opinion of the town who said this individual had to come to the Board of Review or open book.
He could not come, he could not object at the Board of Review if
He
he
could not
denied access to
his
the
dwelling.
assessor. Right.
Yep, that's right. I'm sorry. So they said, yeah, you have to reverse that, and so you don't have to allow the assessor in your house, and you still have the opportunity to come to the Board of Review. It was an interesting little tidbit. All right. Announcements for next month. We have a property management meeting Wednesday, the 26th at 9 a.m. here at the Town Hall. The Door Devils Motorcycle Grounds will conduct their Burning Cow Music Festival on July 27th through the 29th, a weekend thing. They tell us they've been reasonably quiet, no one's had any issues. The church next door, St. Peter and Paul, has its annual fish boil on August 6th. The 35th annual Bellamy Threshery is August 18th through the 20th on Country View Lane.
Be
Always a
prepared
fun.
for letters on the pig wrestling.
Pardon me?
I say we should be prepared for letters on the pig wrestling.
They're not going to hold that we know of.
Really or not?
Yeah, no.
Come on.
Don't advertise that, Tony. Okay? The next Board of Supervisors meeting is Monday, August 21st, 7 p.m. here at the Town Hall. And does anyone have anything for next month that we would like to bring back?
Well, updating the comprehensive plan, if we're going to have public hearings and all of that.
Yeah, it's gonna cost a few dollars.
Is that, just out of curiosity, Jeff guy still doing that?
He's
Was-
not with that company.
I know,
so-
he's independent, or is he out of it completely?
I think we can use the Bay Lake,
Regional
Bay
planning.
Lake
planning
Regional.
for free.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I might have to check into that.
Looking for agenda items?
Yeah.
The resolution for designated fund for terrestrial and basic plan?
Yep.
And the CIP.
Yeah, I got that. Okay. Sounds good.
I will check with John and see about his problem with the.
Identify who it is so we can at least,
The only thing is, if it was on the north end of Clark's Lake, it's not a Sevastopol call, it'd be a Jacksonport call, but,
could be the other thing, is did anybody call?
well, yes.
We don't know.
It depends upon, first responders still work during the day and they don't always, they're not always around. But an ambulance is coming with 2 paramedics on it, guaranteed, and that shouldn't take that long.
I tell you what I would like to do with that, and then we'll go to adjournment. If you can identify the individual and what transpired, I'd like to have a letter sent to John, and then we will just,
Well,
Amy send, just saying
I
the
might
status.
run into a lot of HIPAA rules too, so.
Without having to he's already identified the person.
No, he didn't
No.
identify the person.
Well, if he does, we can work around the HIPAA rules. We just say.
I'm not working around
No,
the
no.
HIPAA rule.
Not in that regard. But I meant, you can inform somebody, you should be able to inform somebody that somebody responded or didn't respond and why.
Correct.
That's
That
all I'm
part.
suggesting. I'm not suggesting we deviate from that, but since he made an issue of it, and you guys are certainly well-respected in the community for what you do, I think we should address it, and then at next month, we'll put it on the agenda, and
Okay.
you can just, as an informational item,
Yeah.
share with us what's going on, but from a communication standpoint, in a vague sense, let them know what happened, and Amy can help with that, okay, within the guidelines. Otherwise, we'll call Jim in, and as a former attorney, you could orchestrate something that says nothing. And very well, too.
Well, the thing is I would call down to, the emergency services, and they're not gonna give any more information than what they can. They're not gonna give anything out that they shouldn't, so.
Right.
Whatever they give me is what I can report on,
Yeah,
and that's it. So.
that's fine. If we can get the basics, that somebody responded or no one did, there was nobody available, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
And I
all.
mean, sometimes during the day, like I said,
There's not,
first responders still work, so that you're not guaranteed to get any first responders. I mean, we'd love it if we could all show up at every time, but,
and so what you're saying is you're gonna put that on the CIP then for next month?
Sure.
You want a full-time
Full-time
first
first
responder?
responders.
All
Along
right,
with
can he
our
track,
full-time-
can he drive a tractor? Jeez, okay. All right, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by John, second by Tony. To adjourn, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 We are adjourned. Thank you.